subscribe, love, like. We're sponsored by the Spunk Lube and rebroadcast by the Demon Seed Radio Network. We could not do any of this without you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Please give us that bump. Sexy People Podcast. I'm danfrigolette. I'm joined with my co-host, Leevonlux. We're just going to keep changing your name and adding more things to it. And the lovely Elizabeth. I'm going to have you introduce yourself because there's a lot of complexity to what you were saying about how you define yourself. So
yeah, it can be a little confusing.
Who are you?
Who am I?
Who are
what
you?
A loaded question.
I know. Just do the whole podcast for us. Who are you?
Well, I'm a nude model professionally. I have a background as a stripper and also I would say like a sugar baby here and there. I go by Elizabeth, but you can call me Liz for short. I'm Sack of Antlers on Instagram.
Yeah.
But my journey to get to this point in my life has been very interesting. And definitely I'm not the kind of average girl next door that I may appear to be.
Yes. Okay. So when I met Liz, it was at a workshop in PA. This winter jam that goes on. It's Stace Bernard Photography hosts at Scott Church Studio. It's a huge warehouse studio.
Amazing event.
It's a beautiful place. Lots of photographers, lots of models. I was terrified because of COVID, but it all worked out well. We did not end up being a super spreading event, so that worked. We're going to be shooting there for 2 days. And Stace said, you're going to room with 2 other girls. Is that okay? I was like, yeah, but I'd love to know who the girls are because again, COVID. And, I want to know, is my stuff safe? These are things that models and dancers are always worried about, right? With rooming
for sure.
with other women. And he's like, you're definitely going to be in a room with Rebecca Lawrence because I've known her for a decade. And he goes, and there's another girl you're going to meet there that you're going to love. And you guys are going to be best friends. I was like, okay, Stace, I trust you. I trust him.
He knows his women.
He does. He really knows his girls. And so we all met at the shoot. We had a great day all working together. Then we go to the hotel and room together. And it is just Girl Talk Fest 2021. Like
it was straight to the heart instantly.
It did. And it felt so good because after being in an apartment for a year by myself and working in this industry that is very male energy heavy, I was needing girl time more than I even knew. And being able to have all these heart to hearts was like, oh, it was so needed. I felt like I had a week-long vacation just one night in PA.
Honestly, same.
Yeah. And of course, guys will assume, a bunch of nude models stay in a hotel room together. What's that like?
Hella scissoring. Am I right?
Right. They're like,
by scissoring, you mean the scissors I grabbed to open our snack bags? Then yes.
Oh my God.
Hella gummy bears. Am I right?
That's on the money.
Right. After unpacking a million snacks for all of us to share, because we all just had the forethought to do that, we all took
and wings.
Yes, and wings, and we got wings. And we ate like models. We got wings. And we showered all our makeup and shit off for the day, and we sat down, and it was just like instant heart-to-heart time. And I thought Elizabeth was absolutely fascinating. And I was like, oh my God, she has to be on the podcast. So she's telling us about the way she grew up. And in my mind, I'm just like, you hadn't labeled exactly what it was yet. And I'm just like, did she grow up in a cult? I'm so confused.
Yeah. So let me add to
what I called it.
Let me add to the thing. Leanne calls me and she goes, I met somebody great, and she maybe grew up in a cult. We're gonna figure it out. And she just sends me your Instagram, and I was like, yes, what?
I'm like, there's so many questions. This is such a great story.
So I lovingly call it cult light or diet cult because not like full strength cult. Right. But cult-like enough that I grew up without TV.
So what is the thing? What's the label?
In Wisconsin.
Everyone is at the edge of their ears right now. What is the thing? What's the label?
So it's hard to have one label because we started in Mennonite, which is a recognizable one. People know Mennonite, right? But then we switched to this like completely just like non-denominational, like meeting in people's houses to have churches.
Oh.
Kind of like still plain people, conservative, but not attached to one greater denomination.
Yeah.
So it was like its own thing. Which I will say, okay, the craziest place that we had church in. So there was church in people's houses. There was church in a bank basement. They had like a space they would rent out on Sundays.
Sure.
But then here's the best one. We once rented out an old funeral home and we had church in a funeral home.
It's a holy place.
Wow.
So, okay, nobody probably knows anything. I don't imagine that there's like a whole group of Mennonites listening. Because I'm weird, I yelled to my Amazon Alexa and I asked her what Mennonites were, and this is what she told me. She goes, it is a sect of Presbyterianism where they believe in baptism, late baptism. Oh, not baptizing children, only adults. You cannot commingle with non-Mennonites, and you wear simple clothing, and you can only marry a Mennonite. How much of that is anything, and how little of that is something?
That sounds pretty on the money. Although I will say, as a child, I wasn't really paying attention to like if it was a side section of a Presbyterian or who I could marry. But I wore ankle-length skirts, which really irked me because I have 7 siblings. I have 4 brothers that I would do everything with, like running around, climbing trees, and they'd be there in their freedom in their pants, and I'd be in my skirt to my ankles, trying to keep up with them. So that was frustrating, to be sure. But yeah, that's pretty on the money.
I like that you call them.
What is the rest of the garb? What is the rest of the? So the skirt was down to the ankles, and what's the rest of it?
So it's usually a full-length dress.
Oh, okay.
With like different like colored, usually floral prints, high necklines, sometimes puffy sleeves. I guess this is a little reminiscent of that. I'm looking down now. I'm like, I'm wearing floral puffy sleeves. What am I doing? No, Twilight Zone.
Wait, I like that you called pants freedom. I like the idea of freedom pants. I don't know why.
Yeah, right.
I don't know where that
freedom pants.
I don't know how that helps somebody or where that gives them their freedom. But okay, so that was so. Okay, so I want to get to the other thing, but this is a thing.
One more thing about the garb, though.
Please.
Yeah.
So you've seen like women with head coverings on, right? Like a little piece of cloth over their hair usually in a bun, maybe just a little bit peeking out the top.
Yeah.
So for Mennonites, if a woman was wearing that was a sign that she had reached adulthood and had made a decision to continue on in life as a Mennonite and as a Christian, like had chosen to be baptized. So it was like the symbol of adulthood.
They don't decide for you, you decide. Technically.
Theoretically.
Right.
But I mean, that's the same with Amish. Like technically you decide, but if you leave, you'll be disowned.
It's a problem if you leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So this is my question, because you said it's a thing I was going to ask, and it's a thing that you said. At which point in your life do you kind of like recognize that like maybe not everybody else is doing this?
Oh, very early on.
Really?
My family moved around a lot. So I think when we moved from Pennsylvania to Wisconsin was when it really became real. Because like just going to the grocery store, you get stared at like you're a zoo animal when there's a group of like 7 children following a woman around all wearing plain clothes.
Right.
And so it became very apparent to me. And I think that was when I had started this like obsession with wanting to be normal or wanting to be like a typical person and have experiences that what I thought everyone else was having.
Yeah. So the 7 children thing, is that as much a part of the religion culty thing, or is that just you think your parents' choice? So
what's funny is neither of my parents grew up in like really intense religion in that way. Like neither of them grew up Mennonite. They both grew up in, typical American homes. My mom only has 1 sister. My dad's from a slightly larger family, but they decided to join the Mennonite church specifically because of the family values, because they wanted to have a strong family and they wanted to have a large family. And so that's what pulled them into that church.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when they went, so the Mennonite thing is very regional. Is that right? So it's in Pennsylvania. So was there no such thing as a Mennonite in Wisconsin?
No. So there are a lot of different side sects of Mennonite churches, but they're really all over. And internationally too, because they believe in, like going out and spreading the gospel. So there were sects in Wisconsin, but we moved to Wisconsin partially because our main church in Lancaster, Pennsylvania was sending out a group to go start a church in Wisconsin.
You were missionaries.
Sort of, kind of, but also like my mom's family lived there. So like we wanted to be close to my grandparents before they died. Okay. So it was like a couple reasons.
Yeah. So what was the name of the We Meet in Bank Basements church, I guess?
I don't think it had a name. Like there wasn't a sign.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of families that most of them had left the same Mennonite church because they had some disagreements with the way that it was run and with the pastors that ran it. And so there was like this subset of like maybe like 5 or 6 families that were like, we're going to start our own church. And my dad was one of those.
Okay,
and
so
my
your father's
parents,
the pastor of a new church now.
one of the pastors. It was like a take a turn and preach kind of thing. Like, oh, draw a number from the hat. This month you speak on the 3rd Sunday.
Really? It's like Rotary, but it's church.
Yeah. Although my dad does have a Bachelor of Biblical Studies. My parents actually met in Bible college. But it was not a Mennonite Bible college. It was just like so this Bible college that they met in is one that has been decried. Like if you Google it, it comes up like, is this a cult?
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yes. So it was The Bible Speaks in Massachusetts.
Wow. Okay, so there's a lot. This is a thing that I learned from somebody. I don't know if I should say his name. I'm not going to say his name for this thing. His dad was part of a church that had a school attached to it, and then eventually it was just such a specific moment in religion or whatever that the state that he was living in decided at some point that his school wasn't a school. They're not doing anything. They're not like asking. They're not trying to meet any of the standards. It's just not a school. But the church was like, it's fine. That's where our kids go to school. So it sounds on some level that's kind of what's like. There's no like regulatory thing that your family's like involved in, right? Like I'm trying to.
So there wasn't in Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, in order to homeschool your kids, which I was homeschooled as well, obviously, like on top of all that, what a shock.
Right.
But in order to homeschool your kids in Wisconsin, all you have to do is submit a paper saying, I'm going to homeschool my kids this year. And that's it.
Wow. So, okay, what is your role what number sibling were you?
So there isn't even an easy answer for that because I'm the 4th biologically, but I have 2 sisters that are adopted from Russia. So I was the 4th sibling until I was 10 years old, and then I was the 5th sibling. Because my adopted sisters are biologically 10 years apart. So one's older and one's younger.
So now, as a girl in this family, do you have does each sibling sort of have like a role? Like, is there something that you are required to do?
That's a great question. Do you mean like chores wise or like?
Yeah, like are you required to do certain chores? And if you're the oldest, you are supposed to be in any American family, you are like the role model, I guess, if you're the firstborn. But with all of you, with this heavy religious burden, is there like things that you have to check off a list at each age or weekly? Or annually?
I wouldn't say so. Like maybe in some families, but like my mom's a classically trained violinist and violist, so she's not like an organized person.
Wait.
So it was more just like chaos.
Wait, that sounds like an organized person. That sounds like she's like a virtuoso. You're like, she's just all over the place. She just did Mozart at 4. What? That sounds so.
Musicians aren't exactly known for being organized, though.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Here's my hone in on Leanne's question. Was the function of having so many children to like run a farm, run a business, like be a family thing that was doing something that you couldn't do? Like, why do you need to have this many kids that you're just like grabbing people from Russia? Maybe that's the question.
Well, so the reason that we adopted from Russia was that there was a 7th biological kid that was born and then passed away a day after he was born. And so after he died, my parents felt like there was a hole in the family. Okay. But it was kind of risky to have another pregnancy. Like my mom had already had a few miscarriages. Right. So they were like, oh, well, you know what? There are these children on the other side of the world that don't have a family. So might as well do that rather than trying to give birth to another. And my dad also loved Russia because my mom played in a gospel band and my dad was the sound guy like before they started dating and they had toured in Russia.
Nice. Okay.
So
there's something romantic about that.
Yeah, or
it's
creepy.
Kind of cute.
Or creepy. We don't know yet. I just assume all dudes when they say Russian, they're just Googling it. No, what was I going to ask you? So where were you? So we'll get off of this in a sec. How old were you then when they adopted your 2 non-biological sisters?
I was 10 years old and I actually got to go with on the second trip to Russia and then accidentally spent a night in the orphanage.
Oh,
which was interesting.
Oh my God! Did you just get forgotten? Like were you left behind by accident?
Like 12 episodes
no.
for you.
I know.
This is barely scratches the surface. It's been an eventful almost 25 years. But no, we missed the last train. So we were at the side of Russia we were on was like far Siberia, like Vladivostok, which is on the Japanese Sea. Okay. And we had like misread the train schedule. And so we went to the little town where my sister's orphanage was, Novosibirsk, which was like a tiny coal mining town that didn't have any hotels or motels. So we couldn't stay there. So we were staying in a place that was like an hour's train ride away.
So your whole family
And we had gone for the day to visit. No, so it was myself, my older sister, and my 2 parents that went on this trip.
Yeah, but everybody,
because like, let's be real, flights to all the way to Russia for that many people.
Yeah,
way too expensive. Yeah.
So, we'll just so let's jump all the way into now. When did you know you were sexy?
Ooh.
Great question.
How did you figure it out?
Knew. So I think it was like a bits and pieces thing. I always was fascinated by sex and by anything related to sex.
Yeah.
Even vaguely. Like I remember at 12, I found this book in the church library that like talked about masturbation because it was essentially like telling teens don't do this, but it told you how to do it. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to do that.
Oh, that's
and
so
then I was
smart.
like, 6 years straight, every day, let's do that.
Here's what you don't
So
do.
wait, the first time you masturbated, you were 12.
I think like 11 or 12. Yeah.
And I like that you were like an academic about it. You're like, who's the leading researcher on masturbating?
She would have to be, no? Like she would have to study. The rest of us had illegal cable. And by like, I mean, I got into porn collections by the time I was 8, which is crazy,
No, I was a gifted, like I was a virtuoso like her mother. I just started humping my hands with no information.
I had this pillow. You remember those like microfiber pillows with the tiny bees that like felt silky soft?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what I humped.
Yeah.
We got real close.
Yeah. Okay, so you're sexy. You know you're sexy. You know you're into sex. All these things. You're in this world where there's probably a lot of repression.
I will say, I don't think I really knew I was sexy until I started dating men because I was exclusively with a woman for 4 years from 17 to 21.
And like sexy?
It's not, well, it was a complicated relationship to be sure, but I was very kind of shy about how I went about things. Like I dressed mostly in like sweaters and jeans because she was uncomfortable with me. She was very controlling. We'll put it that way. It was not a healthy relationship by any means.
Neither of you were open about what you were doing?
Oh, well, I kind of like, I moved out from my parents at 18 because I was in that relationship and it wasn't something that would fly underneath of their roof.
But you're like walking around open but she doesn't want people looking at you.
Yeah, like walking around like openly with a woman, but she was really insecure. And so that's why I didn't pursue modeling during that time until afterwards. And like she would get upset if I walked outside looking too cute.
So can the ladies speak for a second? Because I can't speak to this notion. What is it like to become a woman to the world, to men? And what is that first interaction of like, oh shit, like men are noticing me and like, is it good? Is it bad? Is it gross? Is it exciting? Like both of you, what is that experience like?
I thought it was exciting.
Yeah.
It didn't really happen for me, I felt, until I got my implants when I was maybe 21 or 22. Because before that, I grew up in dance and a lot of ballet, and I had stocked my growth. I had pecs like a boy. Like my the breast tissue was not going to grow because I had too much muscle.
Right.
And so I had the body and I was very skinny. When I got my implants, I was only like 95 pounds. I was very skinny. I was already go-go dancing because I was a great dancer. So I got hired, but I was wearing these pasties on a flat chest. I was wearing these rhinestone thongs and this big headpiece that was bigger than my whole body. And I did not feel sexy at all. I just felt like I knew how to dance and I enjoyed dancing. Yeah. When I got implants, my body went from like that of a teenage boy to a more feminine body, adult body. And then I got attention and then my butt popped and it was just like, oh, this is exciting. People are just like throwing themselves at me. How fun. That didn't happen until my early 20s. So, to me, it was exciting.
I think I kind of experienced that when I was like 13 or 14. Because when I was like 12, I think I already had a B cup. And then I was 13, I think I hit a C cup.
It's just boobs. That's all dudes care about.
For girls. That's when it normally
And even
happens.
though like I was still in my like knee-length skirts, I would try and wear the tightest tops that I could. And so we'd go to our house church, and in the basement after church, all of the teens would like hang out and play dodgeball or cards or whatever after church. And the teen boys would start flirting with me, and it was a good feeling. I was like, ooh, I like this new power. Let me see what I can do with it. Right?
Yeah,
I want boobs now.
But I think that the craziest experience I've had with like feeling that power was a time I had gone down to North Carolina to dance down there for a couple of weeks, and I had gone to audition at a club. I had called ahead of time, and they were like, we're not hiring anyone. And I was like, I'm going to change their mind. So I put on like a sexy outfit.
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is the best club in the city. I'm going to work here. Like, yeah, no other place is an option. This is the best one. I'm going there. So I put on a sexy outfit. I did my makeup. I went in. I stood in line, and I went on a Friday night when there was already a line of men. So when I went in, all of the men in line had to look at me standing in front of them.
Right.
So by the time I finally get up there, I'm like, hey, can I see the hiring manager? They bring him out. But while I'm waiting for him, like all of these men walking past are seeing me the whole time. So when the hiring manager comes out, I'm like, hey, I was wondering if you're hiring, whatever. He starts talking to me about it, and he's like, yeah, we are hiring. And then while he's talking to me, this guy who's waiting in line comes over and is like, Eric, you got to hire this girl. Like, I'll come back and see her tonight.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's how you do it. And then afterwards, to celebrate, because I got the job, I went to this sports bar just like to get a bite to eat before I went back to my Airbnb, but I was still in my cute outfit. And when I walked in, every single person sitting at the bar was a man. Yeah. And every single one of them turned and stared at me. Ended up buying my dinner, like 3 drinks, asking me to play pool. I was like, this is insane.
Perfect transition.
It is power.
What's the difference between that? What's the difference between that and becoming a sugar baby? What's the threshold?
Well, like being a sugar baby is much more about an intense personal interaction, right? So it's like creating this illusion of a relationship in all of the ways, like thinking of personalized gifts for the other person, kind things to say to them. It's like figuring out what their ideal woman is and then like reflecting them back.
It's GFE. It's girlfriend experience.
100%. Yeah. But like to the full extent, like I've met families. Right.
So what do you call? We're in a transition point where there's people in the sex work industry, in a lot of spaces on the OnlyFans trying to redefine themselves, and maybe one of the things they do is they just they can't make rent like this month, so they just go on a campaign, or they have an Amazon wish list, and maybe they're nobody's sugar baby, but they're looking for these personalized interactions where they get paid to maybe exchange a nude or do a thing, or maybe humiliate somebody. What does that space look like? And then at which point are you just selling feet pics versus you're a sugar baby versus financial domination? Maybe, I don't know. I think this is the thing a lot of us have questions about.
The umbrella of all of it is sex work.
I think that's true.
It's a great broad term.
The umbrella of all of it is sex work.
Yeah, I think that's true.
People just have to understand that sex work does not necessarily mean that you are actually having sex for money, but it could mean that.
Yeah.
What does ethical pornography mean to you two?
I don't know if that's something I've really thought about, but definitely to consenting adults, that's like a baseline. To be sure.
Agreeing upon a price, a product, right? Mm-hmm. And exchanging that in a non-deceptive way where both parties get what they wanted, right?
Right. Yeah, and discussing everything beforehand, like open communication.
Yeah.
No kind of coercion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And not sending somebody else's nudes.
That's a big one.
That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess... So your main, what was your main, your first, you said professional nude model, which I like that you put professional in there. What's the marker? Yeah, as a professional comedian, somebody gives me $20, I'm a professional comedian, baby, let's do this. What's it? If I sell my dick to somebody in my Instagram tonight, am I a professional nude model, or what does it take to be a professional nude model?
No, you're just a guy selling your dick.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Leanne, please give me your insight on this as well.
Nude. So now we have, not just now, because of social media, we have an abundance of people who wake up, decide they're hot, and decide that they're a model.
Sure.
Someone takes their pictures, they put it online. I'm a model today.
Sure.
You know, now you're going to book this person for professional gigs. They don't show up.
They suck.
They're late. They bring their significant other with them, like it's
They don't
bring
get
your
it.
boyfriend to work day.
Right.
They don't have the right attire. They don't know. They're
Mhm.
awkward. They don't know the language. They don't know the.
They don't know the lighting, the
They don't know
angles.
the lighting, everything. They don't have a contract of any kind. They don't know. So that is like, no, you're just a hot person on social media. You're
Yeah.
not actually a model.
Mhm.
We are
Totally.
professionals in this.
Well, but so then
group.
how do you know that you've reached that status, or who decided that you're there, I guess?
I
Well-
decided I was there when people were calling me to book me. Like I stopped looking for work and people were
Yeah.
just booking. The work was just there. And I was
you-
like, oh shit.
And you were like, this is my rate, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just went full time in January. So it's only been like 3 months full time for me.
Nice.
Story for another day, but I was stuck overseas on a yacht in Singapore for 4 months because of COVID.
Sounds horrible.
Yeah, I barely survived. But yeah, going full time was a big step and it's been really exciting. And like Leanne said, like the work is just there. Like I'm getting messages in my DM almost every day with people looking to book. And like I went out to St. Louis last weekend because a photographer messaged me and was like, hey, I'll fly you out. You want to shoot for 2 days, make a couple grand? I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Call
if
me
you're
naive.
only depending on OnlyFans. What? Go ahead.
No, finish what you're saying.
If you're only depending on OnlyFans, you are not a professional model. Because if OnlyFans shuts down tomorrow, you have no work.
Fine.
Mhm.
F you,
That's
Bella
it. Your job
Thorne.
is just gone overnight.
Well,
correct. Call me naive. Oh, do you have something? Do you have a positive notion on that? You gave me a well on Bella Thorne.
oh, my well was just that like, well, Bella Thorne, I have plenty of other thoughts about that.
So let me start there then. So this is the thing I've been trying to say to people that don't understand the OnlyFans thing, and this is me and Leanne's, and maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, understanding of the thing. At some point, OnlyFans was a marker for, I know what I'm getting. We're not writing it down on the page, but we know what we're getting. Like, just like when you go to Dunkin' Donuts, you're going to buy coffee. Just like when you were opening Playboy, if somebody was on the cover of Playboy, they were going to be naked in Playboy. I think the understanding felt like if you have an OnlyFans page, I'm going to see your pussy. And Bella Thorne didn't show us her pussy, and we're all mad. Is that fair? Is that what OnlyFans was? And then my follow-up. No, first let's answer this.
Well, not all OnlyFans are you going to see a pussy. So
How
sorry
do
to
I know
burst
what
that
I'm
bubble.
getting? How do I know what I'm getting as an OnlyFans subscriber? Is there a place? How do I know? How do I know what you're going to show
Usually
me?
people will put it in their bio.
Do they?
Like, yeah, you
Okay.
put in your bio what it is that you offer. But the reason people are mad at Bella Thorne is because you can send like a pay to view message,
Yeah.
like a picture with a price tag on it, and people can only see it once they've paid the pipes.
Right.
And you put a description. So she put on her description that it was going to be a nude picture,
She
and
lied.
then people would pay for it, and it wasn't.
She fully
Yeah,
lied.
exactly.
She
Yeah,
fully
so
lied.
she just fucked it for everyone.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so nobody has any trust in the platform. People who've never been to the platform now don't think that anything is real. They can't trust the thing. It almost bankrupted OnlyFans because it takes a lot of money and give a lot of money back. Don't do that. Number two. And I didn't know
Don't
this.
lie. What? A novel classic.
Right, but back to what you said, you were agreeing on a thing, a price for a thing, and everybody's in agreement, and then we're fine. Send me your nudes, not somebody else's. Leanne said, Leanne sent me the craziest text one time where
Which one?
we had before I had somebody on this podcast when it was called something else, and somebody that we both ended up knowing together, and you were like distraught that she, and this is your phrase, or maybe it's not your phrase, but you were like annoyed that she was like she wasn't going to show pink. So if you're a nude model,
I'm annoyed with any model that I'm working with that isn't going to give me, like, if we're shooting OnlyFans, if we're shooting erotic or we're shooting whatever, it has to be that.
how do
It
I
has to be
know as a
erotic.
nude model that I have to show my pussy? I don't have.
I mean, you would clarify it with the photographer
Yeah.
before you even book it. You don't do it when you're at the shoot.
Yeah.
You do it before you even book the shoot.
Yeah.
Well, and I have two different rates for those two different types of nude, right? There's artistic nude, which is where like sometimes it's going to be like there's a leg crossed or there's like a gauze
No pink.
sheet or whatever the case may be. And then there's open leg nude or Playboy nude, which is like you're gonna see it.
And
Right.
and full communication on all those.
Right.
Yeah.
And also if I'm shooting for trade with another model so that we have the content, we have to provide content that I can sell, that
Yeah.
she can sell. And the ones that sell show pink.
Yeah.
You know?
Is
So
that-
if
is
we're
that a fair
agreeing
term?
upon this, we actually have to execute this.
Elizabeth, is that a fair term? Show pink?
Yeah, although for some people it's brown, so like pink or brown.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, it's still.
No, I'm just
not
kidding.
gonna.
Ranges
But
of tan.
but yeah. Showing something is essential for sure
Yeah.
if you've agreed to
Girl,
that and if that's for that kind of paid content. But
Yeah.
like communication takes care of everything. Like discuss things beforehand and you won't run into problems that you didn't expect.
I agree
Right.
with all of that.
Right.
Okay, how do we transition back to
Well, I have a bunch of incredible. Eric, the producer, he has so many good questions, and I don't even know how to jump into all of them. But I want to get to them because they're good.
Well, so there's one that I love, but let me. How far away from Mennonite life are you and the rest of your family?
Okay, so I'm like as far away as is possible to be.
Makes sense.
My family has like loosened over time, especially like in like the last like 6 or 7 years since I haven't lived there anymore. They're much more secular, I guess is the term.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like they don't have TV, but they have streaming now. And you know, everyone in my family wears pants. My sisters wear pants.
Freedom
nice.
pants.
It's not a big deal anymore. It's much more relaxed. Yeah.
Freedom
and
pants.
especially, so this is what's really crazy is I had like hid a lot of my life from my family for a while after the negative reaction when I was dating a woman.
Yeah.
So then when I started sex work, you know, stripping, modeling, whatever, I was like, obviously I'm not going to tell my family.
Right.
Fair.
Other than I have 2 brothers that I'm very close with that I shared that with pretty much from the start. And then finally, just like 6 months ago, I told my dad.
Wow.
And it went a million times better than I ever dreamed that it would.
What did you think was going to happen?
Well, I was terrified, but I wouldn't have gone to him if I hadn't seen the changes that he'd made. Like he kind of went through a midlife crisis and like really became much more open-minded than he was previously.
Are they still
So
together?
I was like, he seems like he could. Yes. Yeah. My parents have been together for 35 years.
Love that.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted.
So I went to him. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, go. Sorry.
Yeah. And then it went incredibly well. I was terrified. I thought that he was either going to be like terrified for my safety or like judgmental or any of the above, honestly, or worried about me. I didn't want him to be worried about me.
Oh, okay.
So then when I went to him and I told him like 100% the truth, going back several years, and he ended the conversation by telling me that he was proud of me and he loved me.
Aw.
And I was like, oh my God, this is all I needed. Like I
Yeah,
feel so validated right now.
That's
When was
everything you
this?
want to hear. Totally.
100%. This was in like, I think October.
Wow, it's right now.
Yeah. So pretty recently.
Do you think this is a thing that I mostly believe in, and I've gotten some confirmation of this? Do you think? I mean, it's who you are, right? It's a part of how you lived your life. Do you think that he had some internal understanding that this is the type of person that you already were? Maybe.
I think so. I mean, I've been very much like I'm going to forge my own path person my entire life, and I've always been someone that bucks rules and standards and expectations. And I mean, I remember as a teen, they must have had a hell of a time trying to get me to dress conservatively because
Right.
I did not go easily by any means. I used to fake being sick so I didn't have to go to church. Like,
Right.
Mm-hmm. You were the rebel.
oh, 100%, 100%. And that sexuality has always been an innate part of me. It's always been like this raw energy that I have. And I'm so grateful to finally have an outlet for it.
Right.
Mhm. I hear
So
you.
the only other pending thing before we tackle everything after is, what's that moment? You keep referencing the moment you left like the church, the Mennonite, the whole thing, to go be with a woman. What's that moment? How does that take place? And how do you just like launch the whole thing and then just boogie to be in a relationship and leave everybody?
Well, I'd been kind of like pulling back in my own ways for a little while. When I got my driver's license when I was 16,
So
I
you're
was like,
16.
I have some freedom.
Yeah.
So when I was 16, I got my driver's license. I started doing Lindy Hop and swing dancing and blues dancing
Cute.
as like a partnered social dance, which
like
is
it.
where I met my soon-to-be girlfriend. And we started dating when I was 17. At the time, I was taking community college classes, and I was like, I had some professors that were very liberal. I had one professor specifically who was a lesbian that like really empowered me and encouraged me to kind of live my truth.
Yeah.
And
You really
so I started.
You really are a sexual academic. I love this.
Yeah, I've got the BS. What can I say?
Yeah.
And so I started dating my girlfriend, and I didn't tell my parents until after I turned 18 because I was afraid that I would get kicked out, and I didn't want to get kicked out before I was like actually an adult.
Right.
You
so can't kick me out. I'm already gone, right? Like.
Yeah. I told my dad first, and he was like, it's just a phase. Like, you'll get over it, kind of.
Okay.
And I was like, of course, I was like, it's not a phase, Dad.
But that's a soft reaction, though. That could have been way worse.
Yeah.
So my dad has always been the one that I've had a closer relationship with. Like, I've always loved my dad so much and respected him and looked up to him. So my mom was always more
tough.
Well, she also believes that anyone in sex work has been trafficked and it can't possibly be in it of their own accord.
Right. This is the hardest thing. This is the hardest thing I'm finding.
Yeah.
Entering this discussion space is some people are so far back to like people are being trafficked and like everybody is doing things against their will.
Like sex this much.
Right.
Right.
And everything is coercive and everything is abusive and it's like it's like I can't figure out how to get them to where we're at.
Right.
They think
like I don't know how to portray
like sex. You're a woman. How could you want to have sex? This is crazy.
But if my sex life isn't enjoyable, how could yours be?
Right.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe.
Although I will say the most free and empowered I have ever felt in my life is coming down the stairs at the strip club, ready to be fully nude in front of strangers. Like it is so incredibly empowering. And I felt so free to express myself in ways that I had held back my entire life.
I love that.
I don't think that a lot of men realize that the nude models, the strippers, the women in porn, the submissives in fetish are the ones in charge.
Right. Right.
We're the ones in charge.
Right.
I can command I've done workshops where I was the only model and there was 20 photographers shooting me at a time and they're getting in each other's way. And I'm like, listen, I'm starting here. I'm looking at you. I'm going this way. If I miss you, I promise I'll come back. You'll all get the same look. And they all shut up like children. And they're just like, okay. And they just wait. Because if I'm not in charge in these scenarios, then that's not consent.
Right.
You know, if you're the submissive and you're not in charge, that's rape. So you are in charge in these positions and people don't realize how powerful that is.
Let me ask the two of you, what are moments? Well, so Elizabeth, are we saying stripper or we're saying dancer? What are we?
I'm fine with stripper because like call it what it is.
So when you,
although I'm currently no longer dancing, so I'm an ex-stripper, I guess.
So we can't go find you live. That's unfortunate for all of us. But
you got to subscribe to my OnlyFans.
Fine,
smart,
and we'll plug that and pay for your porn, and we'll plug that. Is there a moment as walking down that staircase, that empowered moment? Is there a moment where you're supposed to be in that space and you find yourself in the exact opposite? You walk into a room, it's not a thing that you have control over. There's some sense of danger. There's a complete lack of power when you're about to do the thing that's supposed to be the most empowering. Have you experienced that? What does that look like?
The description that you're giving, the only experiences that I think of when you say that, like coming into a room and feeling like totally out of your element, out of power, is what I experienced as a teen going into church.
Oh, sure.
Like I went to my sister's Easter play because I love my sister a couple weeks ago, which, it was socially distanced, but anyhow. And just walking into that building where I'd gone to church as a teenager, like I started having a mini panic attack and I had to like talk myself down. Just being in this space, I remembered like all of the mean comments and the judgment, and it was not a good experience for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, glad that
Dan frozen?
Oh, Dan is frozen.
It's funny because
I've never felt powerless in the dance world.
Okay.
Dan, you're freezing.
That's good to hear. Well, it's funny because when I'm frozen, when you guys think I'm frozen, I think you're frozen.
Oh no. Oh, I hear you now.
Here you go. You're back.
But yeah, just carry on. If I get frozen, carry on.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Well,
Men are so invaluable. Just do let the women work.
So we just went over that she felt she did not have power when she went into church, which is
I did hear that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Go
fast forward, Leanne, what are the ones that you love that Eric's putting on the shelf?
Okay. If you started a cult, what would it be?
Ooh, if I started a cult, I think I'm like way too into consent to start a cult. Like I couldn't even really work in sales because I don't want to.
I think that's a mic drop answer.
Yeah.
I think that's a mic drop answer. I could never start a cult. I believe in consent.
I think I would have a nude cult.
That's what I was going to ask. So I did my.
What would make it a cult?
I mean, like it really would be. But it would just like you must be nude here. End of story.
But that's consent,
But that's
right?
still consenting because if someone doesn't want to be nude, they just won't enter that space.
Right, they could just leave.
Yeah.
I would join a nudist colony.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
It's so fun.
Has anybody?
My boyfriend laughs at me because I walk around at home naked all the time.
Yeah.
He's like, "Why are you always naked?" I'm like,
No.
"It's a natural state to be in.
Yeah.
Just keep the heat up high enough so I'm not cold."
Yeah. Fuck it.
I think there's no it's kind of in the same way where Leanne was teasing me because it sounded like I wanted to date two women and she didn't think we could find where I'm the unicorn, and it's like or like that's obviously like a perfect scenario. I don't know that there's I don't think there's a scenario where there's nudists where most of the crew is attractive to the extent that we want it to be. So we have to try to start an attractive nudist, because I think the notion of nudist is all of my flaws are all of what make me a human. And so it's people that are like that have felt flawed and just go, I'm just whipping it all out now. So that's what it is. That's a weird nudist space. But
nudity is also like, it's totally different in the US than in other parts of the world.
Explain.
Like America has totally sexualized nudity, and it's not a sexual thing innately. Yeah. It's so weird.
No,
My
when
dick
You
is
go to
so
Asia or
unsexual
Europe, no
right
one
now.
cares.
It's just sitting on the couch. It's nothing. It's
not doing anything.
not-
Just
it
a
has
piece
not-
of your body.
it has nothing
When
to do
I
with sex right now.
naked in my apartment, it's not because I'm like, I want to be sexy. It's like because I don't want to wear a
Yeah.
bra. It's
Yeah.
because I don't want my
Exactly.
vagina squished into a thong. It's because I just don't want to
I like the feeling of air on my skin.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if I go on a long road trip in the summer, I'm gonna wear a bikini and have the windows all the way down, so
Yeah.
I get that beautiful
it feels
breeze.
good. Right. And
It's
it has
great.
nothing to do with sex.
Yeah,
No, it's not sexual in the least.
Yeah,
No.
normalize men wearing bikinis. That's what I think we should do.
When you start,
I'm
Yeah,
down.
you started.
I'm down. I already, the first photo shoot I did with Leanne, they just put me in a dress, and I was like, I don't know what we're doing, but I'm down. I don't care.
It's totally comfortable in
there
it.
you go.
I don't care.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. The one that I thought was very interesting that Eric was saying, and let's remove the fact that it would never happen. What would happen, and remove the fact that you don't want this. What would happen if you tried to rejoin those communities now?
Well, I think that they probably wouldn't even know what I'd been doing with my life.
Okay.
So I would probably get some like weird stares and judgment, and people.
Would your family even take you back to this lifestyle?
Well, my family's not in that lifestyle anymore.
Okay,
No.
right. They left. Okay.
Yeah. So like,
So yeah, you could join and just act like you don't have the
yeah.
history
Or
that
I
you have.
could come in and be like, oh, my poor sinner soul, like Christ has saved me. I can't wait to be back in the
They
fold.
love that shit.
Yeah, they eat that up.
Yeah.
Right.
They love that shit. Eric, the creepiest one Eric sent, and we love Eric, and he's not creepy.
I love
but
a
the
good creepy question.
But the creepiest one he said, would you ever do Mennonite identity in sexy role play?
I don't think that I would feel sexy doing it, so no. I wouldn't have a problem with someone else doing it, but I think I would have too many like mental blocks and like
Yeah.
mental
It would put you in
connections
a
to be
weird
able to do it.
headspace.
Yeah. Also,
So-
like I was a child at that time, so it would just like it would be weird on so many levels.
Right. That's fair. So even if your partner was like, I dig that, you're like, too soon.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Be like anything but that.
That's fair. So are there parts of
I would like to have sex in a church though. For
Yeah.
sure.
down? Wait, current
like
it could have been a church in the past, or it has to still be a church now?
Either, but like I'd prefer if it was still a church now.
I like
Or
that.
like the best possible scenario is like in like a back room or like in the bathroom during a service.
Wow, mass is happening.
That would be
I dig
like
that.
that'd
I
be
dig that.
that'd be it.
It would be like therapeutic for you, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Well, I was going to ask,
Be
so
therapeutic.
then maybe this cancels out this question. Were there parts of the evangelicalism of this Presbyterian thing, this Christianity thing? Were there parts of it that you subscribed to while you were unaware of the fact that maybe the rest of the world doesn't live this way, or are there things that you kept from that life, from in a belief system sense, at all?
Yeah. Well, like as a child growing up, everything that you're surrounded with is your version of reality, right?
Correct.
So if you grow up somewhere where religion and Christianity and God are at the center of everything, you think that that is the center of everything. And so like I was baptized when I was 10 because mostly it was because my parents always told us that the most important thing to them was that their children had a good relationship with God, like above academics, above anything else. And so obviously as a kid, you want to make your parents proud. So I was like, I can do this. I can believe in this God stuff. Like I'm not feeling what everyone around me is feeling, but I'm going to try and convince myself that I am. But I think when I was about like 11 or 12, I started questioning the existence of God.
Yeah.
And so,
What were
there was no going back from there.
What were I remember my moment of like, wait a second, in Catholicism, what was your moment? What was the thing too far that you're like, no, sorry, no?
It was when I realized that what we think of as the Bible were selections that were chosen by a group of men like gathered and had a conference and were like, what are we going to choose to have everyone live their lives by and say is the word of God inspired by, or the inspired word of God written by man. Like they chose between a bunch of different books and there maybe even people were bribed to put in a certain book because the author was like maybe still alive or their descendants or something. Like that was the big eye opener moment for me. And like, it just continued from there.
You recognized male dominance at 11.
Oh, I recognized it way before then.
I like
my family would laugh at me because I was like the most little feminist in this Mennonite world in my long dress. I'd be like, why do I have to cook?
Yeah, I like that.
Liz also grew up a little bit in a different time than we did. You're 25?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Well, I'm 25,
25,
but also I grew up, I'm about to be 25 next month, May 13th. Ooh.
Yeah, so there was more feminist movement when she was younger than there was when there was no feminist movement when I was younger.
Yeah.
However, I was like completely separate from that general
so
feminist
she was actually in a more closed off environment. I mean, you grew up in Yonkers. Right. She was in a more closed off environment for many of it.
The land without time, like no TV. Yeah. Everything that I picked up about like my idea of the outside world was either from like going to the grocery store or the library or from reading. I consumed books like it was my job.
Right.
That's awesome.
I'm putting this on you. You are a sex positive academic. In this, because you are the Abe Lincoln of learning about sex education. Like you just did it all in books, and then in college. I really like that about you.
Are your siblings all liberated now? Frozen. Our connection
is deeply religious. Oh, you guys are frozen. Am I here?
I think there's a bump. I think we're all back now. Yeah.
Okay. So some of my siblings still identify as deeply religious.
Okay.
But then like I have a younger brother has a lot of similar perspective and viewpoints to me. So it's great because we can confide in each other and, have little conversations.
That's awesome. And the two that are adopted, are they in or out?
My older sister, I think, is probably out. She doesn't live in the state anymore. She's married. She has a kid. Like she's totally doing her own thing. But then my younger sister still lives with my family. So she's still kind of in it.
And those were the two that were adopted?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
What does your current lifestyle look like? You said you have a boyfriend.
Well,
you said that you're a professional nude model.
Mm-hmm. I travel as much as I can in these COVID times. I kind of just moved into a new apartment, which is still in the works. There's some painting that's going to happen. Because I freelance as a professional nude model, I have a lot of flexibility in my schedule. I have a lot of free time, and I love being able to make my own schedule.
Mm-hmm.
How do you and your boyfriend define your relationship, if that's not over the line?
Like define how. Like,
I don't know.
Like, are you
what
guys? Are
what-
Are you monogamous? Are you open?
Yes.
Are you
Okay.
free?
We're in a serious monogamous relationship,
Nice.
which is wild because it's my first in three, like first serious relationship in 3 years. So it's been interesting getting back into that. And my first serious, like really serious relationship with a man ever.
Oh, nice.
Did you find?
Yeah.
What are you finding? Let's just say weird, so that it's not a judgment. What are you finding weird and new?
Okay, so something that I struggle with coming from my feminist perspective is that like dealing with gender roles and that like I want to help out around the house. Like I have this urge to take care of the people around me. And like I worked as a nanny for years. So like I'm used to like bustling around and making sure everything's in the space all right and, you know, like doing someone's laundry. But then my gender norms and my feminism are like, oh, don't do anything for him because then he's going to expect it and you're just going to be taking that role. And that, like, I never thought about that in a relationship with a woman. And now with a man, I'm like, oh, I don't want to like conform to taking care of him, but I also want to take care of him.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what do I do?
I'll just call it a radical idea about gender norms. Gender roles. I just think, remove the gender thing. I think we just need to talk about roles. It's like, I'm capable of doing, like, if there's 50 things, and what was cool about gender roles, this is what I'll say. What was cool about gender roles was there was 50 things, and we said it's 25-25, and we arbitrarily said women do this and men do this. So remove that, and just let's still say there's 50 things. Two of us have to do them. Which 25 things do you want, and which 25 things do I want? And it's not because I'm a dude, and it's not because you're a woman. Let's just do the 50 things as a team.
Mm-hmm.
I like that perspective. And I will say my boyfriend is a fantastic cook. So he definitely defies the gender roles there. And we also flip the script because I have short hair and he has long hair.
That's so true.
Does he use it?
He has like perfect golden manes. Oh, no. I am growing my hair out to a bob right now though.
No, I mean, does he do the flip? Can he do the flip and be like, excuse me, and do the flip and then win an argument? That's what all I want to do.
He won't do the excuse me, and I will fake flip my hair all the time.
I do it all the time. I keep hurting myself.
You gotta work that neck out more.
So all the way back to, because eventually at the end of this in a little while, we're going to have you promote all your stuff. What the hell is a sack of antlers?
Okay, all right. A sack of antlers.
That's your Instagram. IG.com.
That is my Instagram handle.
/sack
that's my
of
Instagram
antlers.
handle. Model Mayhem. I'm also Sack of Antlers on there. But Sack of Antlers is a term that's used for a very skinny woman. And my background with the term was my ex, my last relationship, which was like
pile
super
of bones?
toxic. Yeah. So it started from like a really negative place, and that's why I turned it around. So I was super thin when I was dating my ex because I was very anxious all the time, and then I lost my appetite, and I was super skinny. Didn't really have the tits I have now. Certainly didn't have an ass. And
you have a great ass, by the way.
Thank you. It's homegrown. And my ex would make fun of me for being so skinny and would like mockingly call me a sack of antlers because they were like, you're all sharp ends, like someone threw antlers. I think at that point I was like 19 or 20, but yes.
Same girl.
Yes. Yeah. And so she would call me a sack of antlers because I was all sharp, pointy ends. So then when we broke up and then I gained weight and then I started modeling, then I was like, I'm making a modeling page. What am I going to call it? And I was like, ooh, I'm going to name it Sack of Antlers just as a big fuck you.
Hell yeah.
Like,
I love that.
I'm taking it back. Try and body shame me just once. And you know what? Fuck you, no.
So time.
Nice.
I don't know if anybody, Leanne, have you heard of Sack of Antlers as a thing?
No, I've heard of being bony and bag of bones. I've been called all those things years ago when I was bony.
Elizabeth, is it fair to say that your partner was like made up her own colloquialism, or is this a thing you've heard elsewhere?
So I've had like 2 photographers know what it was.
Okay.
They were all like, oh, it's for your rib cage.
Okay.
And they were both art photographers too. So maybe it's a thing in like the art photography world or like the art world. But otherwise, no one has known it.
But you're not. But you're not Sack of Antlers 117. So you snagged that shit. So maybe it's smaller than we think it is, right? Or is it
Sack of Antlers? Period.
Is there a Sack of Antlers?
It's very unique.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And I like your story with it. a lot.
I like that it has a level of meaning to me personally, rather than it just being like a sexy pseudonym.
Yeah. No, and it
Which
is
there's
fun.
nothing wrong with a sexy pseudonym, but this has personal meaning to me.
And you're not wrong. Skinny people are sharp. Like she's not wrong. And
I was very
yeah,
I'm still a little sharp.
And it's good sharp sometimes. It depends on what you're into. We don't want to pick for anybody. If you like sharp, sharp's fun. How else do we find, follow, and pay for your content? Tell us all
like
the
your
things.
Instagram.
Yeah. Number one is Instagram, Sack of Antlers. And then from there, I have my link tree where you can access everything else. But my OnlyFans is also Sack of Antlers. So it's pretty easy to find. Essentially, if you Google Sack of Antlers, everything that comes up is me.
And what can we expect? Let's do the thing since I made this declaration that I don't understand what people's OnlyFans. What can we expect on your OnlyFans? Like A to B, what's the spectrum?
I will say I have not been very active on my OnlyFans. I don't do as much as I'm like working up to doing more on there, to posting more. There's definitely full nude on there, but there is not a lot of video content. Most of the video content that I will release will be sent as a pay-per-view video.
I see.
Yeah. Which will be sent directly to your inbox, and then you can choose if it's something that you want to buy or not based off of the description. And I'll usually have like a short bloop or like a preview of it on the main feed, so you get an idea of what it's about.
Have you and your boyfriend had to make new rules, or did you just define what it is that you do? But have you had to make rules or change things that you're doing to fit his comfort zone?
So we've had a lot of conversations, but I would say that all of the changes that I have made are ones that I myself, so I'm a Taurus, which like by nature, we're ridiculously loyal. And so the reason I stopped dancing is that I didn't feel comfortable dancing while I was in a relationship with someone that I loved. And that was really just a me thing.
What happens
as long as it's a you thing, that's great.
But what happens in a strip club that can cross the line, I guess?
Well, in a strip club, when I'm in that headspace, in that like, ooh, I'm sexy and like I'm letting all of this out and I'm showing my personality and expressing myself fully in this like intense way, that intensity can lead to connections and interactions. And like I'm in a different headspace, and that's a headspace that I don't want to be in with someone that's not my partner when I'm partnered.
So you're actively encouraging,
like very flirtatious.
You're actively encouraging
super flirtatious
stuff coming your way, and you want to get out of that so that you can focus on.
And also like there are different like styles of dancer, right? Like I'm sure you know about like the difference between like a VIP club and an urban club. Like there are ass shaking clubs and there are conversation clubs. And I've always been a conversation club kind of girl, where like I'll have men like fall in love with me over the course of an evening because I show just enough of my personality to pull them in and keep them interested in me as a person, not just as a sex object.
Right. The first person I ever met, way before I ever thought I would do a podcast about any of this space, the first person I met that was doing camming, and this is way early camming, she made all of her money by sitting clothed and like chatting with people. That was where was her like big payday. She was like, she was an aerialist and all these other things, but the money day was sit down and chat with these people. And just for the record, since there are different styles of dancing, I want everybody to know I'm a dirty dancer. Leanne, how do we find you? How do we follow you? What do we? I have never asked you this. I don't even know the answer. What is on your OnlyFans?
My OnlyFans it's mostly. That's a good combination of solo masturbation. I go all the way up to like squirting, full insertions with toys. There's no men. I do girl content. It's not the girl content is kind of softcore. And I interact with my fans. It is hot. I interact with my fans. They inbox me and I respond to them. I send them voice notes. I'm pretty active.
Will either of you do solo customs at this point in your career?
I'm not doing anything that's like full masturbation, just because I still like am debating if I'm ever going to use my bachelor's degree, and I don't want to like cross a line I can't uncross.
True.
And we don't know what that line. We're navigating a weird space where we have no idea what that line is. Every day I'm like, will anybody care if I take a video of me coming and putting on an OnlyFans? Will that have anything to do? Will it blow back on anywhere? And I don't know. I really don't know the answer. We're navigating.
Well, if you're just masturbating, it certainly won't blow out anyone's back.
You've never seen me come. Don't make judgments. Leanne, how do we follow you?
At Leevonlux on Instagram. My backup page is Leevonlux2. Someone just started a fan page under my name as well. I've gotten questions if I have a third page. It says Leevonlux fan page. I'm like, no, it has all of my own stuff.
But you're happy with it being there.
But it's not. I'm not running it.
But you're happy that it's there.
I mean, I'm flattered.
Don't accidentally follow that page, but hell yeah, that's great.
I mean, you can follow it just as long as you know it's not me.
Yeah, don't give it any money.
Don't give that page any money.
No money
Don't
there.
let me
On any of my Instagram, so there you go.
Elizabeth.
Find me on.
Let me also plug my backup because I forgot to mention it. I just made it because I was like, ooh, what if the Instagram police come after me? I should probably have a backup.
What a terrible thing you have to do. Yeah, sorry.
Right? But it's at Sack of Antlers backup. And my 25th birthday is coming up in less than a month, or just about a month.
Amazon wish list.
Probably less than a month. Amazon wish list on my link tree. If you go to Sack of Antlers on IG, get me something cute. Get me something fun.
Cool.
Make my birthday special.
Hell yeah. I just made a video on Instagram about how we're not doing the thing where we tell people what our next birthday is. Just say you're 24. Make it easy on the rest of us. When you're 25, you can be 25. God damn it. You're 24.
But I want to be 25 now.
I know. Stop it.
You're in that phase where you still want to be older.
25 is a pinnacle. It does feel strong.
Age is just a summation of your experiences, right? Like it's not that big a deal either way.
You use too big of words for me. I don't know.
The academic coming out.
I'm so impressed with how much life you've lived up till this moment. I'm so happy that you came on and talked to us. I think we could do 50 episodes with you.
Yeah, we have to have you back for sure. We have to go deeper.
I would love that. This has been so much fun. Thank you for having me.
The complexity, real quick, of this podcast has changed names and it's changed things, and we're in a really good space. And I'm really happy with Leanne being on board, and I'm happy that I'm out of an ego space that I can have her on board. She asked me if she could be on board like 2 years ago, and I was like, no way, I'm the greatest, and I'm not.
Okay, cool.
I'm not, and I need her, and I'm happy that she's here. Me and Leanne are active. Me, Leanne, and Eric are actively trying to cancel the word porn star. We don't think it applies to the world anymore. We think it's a weird thing. So we're I don't know. And then until somebody tells us, no, we need that word, we're trying to cancel it. This is the Sexy People Podcast. We're dropping a new episode once we start the new regime every Sunday. You can hear us all the places podcasts are. We have some content on YouTube with all the things. You can see all the pretty people. And follow us, listen to us, do all the things. Tell us what you think is happening. And if you were here because you wanted to see boobies, we don't need you. Listen to what we have to say. That's what we're trying to do.
Go to our OnlyFans.
That's for Instagram OnlyFans.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Don't not want to see their boobies, but this might not be the place for it. Go to the OnlyFans with the boobies. I forgot you guys are selling boobies. I'm sorry. What else? Does anybody have anything else they wanted to say?
That's it. This has been a blast.
This has been so much fun. Thank you guys so much for inviting me and having me be a part of this.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Eric, for the behind the scenes and all the insight and all the things you bring to this thing. Listen and like and subscribe for more things.
Bye.